What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Andy, and on this channel we talk about audio, video, and tech. And in this week's episode, I'm teaching you guys a quick, simple way to color grade your log footage in Davinci Resolve using only 3 nodes. Let's jump into it. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a minute since I posted a new video. For that, I apologize. I have been sick, which you can probably tell from the sound of my voice. I'm still a bit congested, so again, I apologize there. And I've also been busy shooting some more commercial work, and I've been busy shooting and editing those videos, so it has taken up my extra free time that I would be making YouTube content. I'm working on getting back to a regular schedule here so that I can do both of those things on a regular basis. But I was color grading one of my new commercial projects that I was working on, and I kind of thought it might make for a great video to show you guys a very simple way to get your log footage into that Rec. 709 color space in Davinci Resolve, and just kind of show you guys the basics of color grading. I know when I first started making videos and shooting for other people, color grading really freaked me out because there's a lot to know, and I am by no means a professional colorist, disclaimer there, but I've learned some things along the way in my workflow that I can quickly and easily take my log footage and get it to the place that I'm happy with. And I'm going to show you guys a very simple 3-node color process to get your footage from that log format into the Rec. 709 color space. But for that, we're going to jump into Davinci Resolve 18, and I'm just going to kind of show you guys the workflow and how you can take your log footage and get it to somewhere a much more usable place. So let's jump into the computer. All right, guys, we are now in Davinci Resolve 18. I went ahead and imported some clips that I shot for my buddy's barbershop promo. I'll link that video up in the top corner there. But there's a few shots that, I was just messing around with that did not make it into the video. So I'm going to kind of show you on this clip here. I was just messing around and didn't end up using this. So we're going to take this short clip here and use it as an example of how to do this quick color grade from a log format here. So you'll see that the image is incredibly flat, no contrast, no saturation. It looks really boring and not great, but the log format is going to give us the most dynamic range to push things around in post. So if your camera does shoot in log footage, I'd highly recommend that you experiment with that. I know a lot of people, hey, I really like the color that I get out of my camera, so I kind of skip the color grading process altogether, and that's totally fine as well. But for me, I like to have control over it. So I do shoot in this flat color profile that I can push things around after the fact. So again, if you're shooting on like a Sony, you can shoot an S-Log2, S-Log3, and you're gonna get this same really flat color profile. So we're gonna start here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into the color tab down here. Now we've got our nodes up here, we've got our effects, we've got our waveform, and we've got our color wheels over here. I'm gonna go ahead and close that for now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on this area up here, and we're gonna add some serial nodes by hitting Shift S. And every time you do that, it's gonna add a node here. And then I'm gonna just kind of drag these to organize them how I typically like. I kind of like them all in a row there, but it doesn't really matter. You find what works best for you. And we're gonna start on the 3rd node. The first thing we are gonna do is find this color space transform effect, and we're gonna drag that right to our 3rd node. Now, when you do that, you're gonna get this menu that pops up on the side. Now, there are some things that we gotta change in here to get it to a good starting point. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change our input color space, and we're gonna change our input gamma. Now, the output color space and output gamma says use timeline. Now, if you come down in your settings here and you click color management, it is gonna show you what your timeline is set in. I actually prefer to change the timeline color space to Rec. 709A. I find, because my monitor is not calibrated, that using that, it translates better across multiple devices. The color stays true across, like if you're watching on an iPhone versus an Android versus a tablet versus a laptop. So that is the first thing I'm going to change. You can change the color science as well, but I am going to leave that alone. I'm just going to change the timeline color space, and I'm going to click save. So now using the timeline output color space, it is going to be in that Rec 709A, but we do need to change the input color space. And this is the information that we need from our camera. So again, I know I shot it in Vlog, so I'm going to scroll down to the first thing that I need to change, and that is Panasonic V Gamut. And then input gamma, I am going to find Panasonic Vlog. Now, as soon as I do that, you'll see that already the image looks much better. It's added some contrast, it's added some saturation, and you can see that the waveform expanded. I can turn that off, and again, you see it compresses down. This color space transform is trying to expand that compressed file, but it doesn't quite do 100% of the job. You can see that you know, down here, we've still got a lot of room that we can bring our shadows down. This chair is black, and it still kind of looks gray here. So that is where we go to our second node. Now, our second node is where we are gonna play with our color wheels a little bit. Then the first thing I'm gonna do is bring down the lift, which is our shadows. And I'm gonna bring that down, not quite to 0. I don't really wanna crush them, but I do wanna get it closer to a true black. So I'm gonna bring that down. And I'm kind of going to just watch it to see what I like. So that looks pretty good as of now. The next thing I noticed is that my highlights right here are kind of clipping out, and that is these bright windows, these bright lights here. So I am going to pull down just a little bit on the highlights and kind of try to bring some of this detail back in the windows. It's not crazy blown out, but it is a little bit. So I'm going to pull that back just a bit. And then the next thing I'm going to do is bump the contrast here, and you're going to see these color lines right here. You're going to see those expand a little bit more. I never like to push those too far. I think it looks a little crazy when you go too much with it. But I'm going to bump it up just to about there. And then I am going to boost the saturation just a touch. Again, nothing crazy here. We don't want to, you know, blow everything out so it looks wonky, but I am going to pull that to maybe 55-ish. And then I'm going to bring up our midtones just a little bit here. So again, you can see that our shadow line is not quite touching 0, but it's pretty close. We've pulled back the highlights just a bit. We've increased the mid or the gamma just a little bit, bumped up that contrast, and bumped up that saturation. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our first node, and we are going to do our temperature correction here. Now, you can come over here and click the little picker icon here, and what that's going to do is going to allow you to select an area in your image that's white. And so if I select this floor, you can see that that cools the image down quite a bit. So if I turn that back off, it's quite a bit warmer there than it should be. So if I turn that back on, it is going to cool off some of those warm tones, which again, in this shot, these lights are really cool. So that's more accurate to what it looked like when I was in the shop. So we've got these 3 nodes here. We've got our color space transform, our primary controls, and then our white balance adjustment here. So if I turn these all off again, you can kind of see where the image started from, or exactly see where the image started from, and then we can turn these back on and see how it adjusts as we go. So to me, that image looks much more neutral, and it looks pretty good. Again, you can adjust it to taste, but you know, this is pretty much what it looked like when I was actually in the shop. Now we do have this 4th node here, and this is kind of an optional thing. Now, Davinci Resolve does come loaded with some LUTs inside, and a really popular thing to use are these film look LUTs here. A lot of people like the film look, but that does require some additional changes. So now if I'm on my 4th node and I go ahead and I say I want to apply this, you know, Kodak, and I click that and I throw that on there and I turn my node on, it looks insanely bad. Everything is crushed. It looks absolutely terrible. So I'm going to turn that node back off. The thing that we need to change is we need to go into our 3rd node again, and we're going to want to change this output gamma. We're going to scroll down and we're going to want to change that to Cineon film log. So if I click there, it flattens the image out again just a little bit. And if I turn my film look node on, it looks much better and does kind of give that vintagey film look vibe. Now you can also change, if you come into the node key here, which is this icon, you can actually change the output actually on this one, you can actually change the output of this LUT. So you can pull it back down. If it's a little too intense, you can boost it up. So if you want the look to look even more intense than it is, you can do that here in this key output. I typically don't mess with that too much. I usually like the looks that I get here. I'm gonna go ahead and reset that. And we're gonna pull the color space transform back in since I messed everything up, and get it back to that neutral look here. There's my Panasonic Vlog and our Cineon film log. So that right there gives you that film look in a really, really simple way. Again, it's 4 nodes that you can do this, but if you liked just getting it to that neutral color space, you can just do this in 3 nodes as well. So hopefully that helps you guys color grade your footage quickly from a log format. All right, guys, that is it for this video. I hope that it helped you kind of get your head around the color grading process in Davinci Resolve and give you a really quick workflow to taking your log footage and getting into that Rec 709, that color corrected space. And obviously feel free to experiment and take it a step further. This again is just my workflow, and there's a lot of other people that are better at color grading than I am out there. But this is just how I work, and I find it's pretty quick and easy. So if you're a beginner and you're just getting into videography, cinematography, and you're new to Davinci Resolve, I hope this helped you, kind of get a jump start into color grading in Davinci. If you found this video helpful, please like the video, subscribe below as well. That definitely helps the channel. And again, I'm going to be working on uploading videos on a more regular basis. Again, it's been like a month since I've uploaded anything. So again, apologize, but thanks so much for watching. Again, like and subscribe down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.